A woman's behavior is a language that is far richer than the words she speaks, and this is where so many people go wrong. Too often, the focus is only on what comes out of her mouth, while the deeper message lies hidden in her gestures, her silence, the pauses between her words, and the energy she carries in a moment. When a woman chooses not to say something, that in itself is a form of communication. Her folded arms, her softened voice, or her avoidance of eye contact might reveal more than any sentence she could ever put together. The truth is, a woman communicates on multiple levels at once, and to ignore these layers is to miss the essence of who she is and what she is trying to express. When a woman is happy, she rarely needs to announce it directly because her behavior broadcasts it loudly. You will see it in the way she becomes more playful, more open, more generous with her time and attention. Even without saying a word, her smile, her body language, and the sparkle in her eyes are indicators of what her heart is experiencing. On the other hand, when she is hurt, disappointed, or frustrated, her behavior will shift even if her words remain neutral. She might speak less, retreat into silence, or give short, guarded responses that tell you something is not right. These unspoken expressions are not accidents. They are her way of protecting her emotions while still communicating her truth. The challenge for many is that they look only for direct statements and miss the subtler forms of communication. Women are often labeled as complicated, but the truth is they are simply more nuanced. Their behavior is layered because they are navigating not only their own emotions, but also how those emotions might affect the people around them. For example, a woman might choose not to express her anger directly if she feels it will escalate into conflict. Instead, she communicates it through distance, through a certain tone of voice, or by withholding the warmth she usually gives freely. It is not deception. It is her way of protecting peace while still making her feelings known. Another important dimension of this is body language. Research shows that a large percentage of human communication happens non-verbally, and women are especially fluent in this form of expression. The way a woman leans in when she is engaged, the way she pulls back when she feels uncomfortable, or even the way she fidgets when she is nervous are all clues to what is going on internally. A woman's behavior is a mirror of her emotional world, and if you learn to observe carefully, you will see what she feels before she even says it. This is why paying attention to these subtle cues builds deeper trust, because it shows her that you are listening to more than just her words. Silence, in particular, is one of the most powerful ways women communicate. When a woman withdraws into silence, many assume it means nothing, but in reality, it often means everything. Silence can signify disappointment, a need for space, or even an invitation for you to step up and notice what is happening. It is a moment where she is choosing to withhold words because she wants you to pay attention to her behavior instead. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of meaning, and it speaks volumes about what she is processing inside. Recognizing the message behind her silence is one of the deepest signs of emotional intelligence. It is also worth noting that a woman's behavior can reveal truths she might not even be fully aware of herself. Sometimes, her unconscious actions betray feelings that she has not yet admitted, even to herself. For instance, the way she lights up around certain people, or the way her voice softens when speaking about something meaningful, often says more than her words. This is not manipulation. It is simply the reality that behavior often speaks before the mind can fully form a confession. If you pay attention, you can catch glimpses of her authentic self in the behaviors she doesn't even realize she is showing. The ability to understand these unspoken signals requires presence and patience. It means resisting the urge to rush to conclusions, instead observing consistently over time. A single action might not tell you much, but patterns of behavior reveal everything. For example, if a woman consistently avoids discussing a certain topic, her behavior is pointing you towards something important. Perhaps a fear, a wound, or a boundary. These patterns are not coincidences, they are maps to her inner world. And if you learn to follow them without judgment, you gain access to the deeper truths that words alone could never reveal. It is important to understand that when a woman communicates through behavior, she is not trying to confuse you. She is protecting herself. Women have often been judged, dismissed, or even punished for speaking their truth directly, so behavior becomes a safer way of expressing what words cannot. This is why dismissing her behavior as irrelevant is not only careless but disrespectful. When you choose to honor her unspoken communication, you are saying, "I see you, I hear you," even when you don't say it out loud. That acknowledgement alone builds a bridge of trust and intimacy that cannot be achieved by words alone. In relationships, this understanding can be transformative. Many arguments could be avoided if people paid more attention to what a woman's behavior was already saying before things escalated. Her size, her distancing, her sudden quietness, all of these are invitations to address the issue before it becomes too big. Ignoring these signals is like ignoring a warning light on your car dashboard. It doesn't mean the problem isn't real. It only means you've chosen not to pay attention until it breaks down. When you learn to read behavior as communication, you prevent unnecessary conflict and create an environment of emotional safety. At its core, understanding that women communicate beyond words is about respect. It is about seeing her not just as someone who speaks with her mouth, but as a whole being who expresses herself in countless ways. Every gesture, every silence, every shift in her tone is a doorway into understanding her world. And the more you train yourself to listen, not just with your ears, but with your eyes and with your presence, the more you will discover the richness of her inner life. This awareness doesn't just make you a better partner, friend, or colleague. It makes you a more attentive human being who values the full spectrum of communication. Emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful forces shaping the way women behave and make decisions, yet it is often misunderstood or undervalued. Too many people assume that when a woman relies on her emotions, she is being irrational, when in reality, she is drawing from a depth of awareness that goes far beyond logic alone. Emotional intelligence is the ability to sense, understand, and respond to emotions, both her own and those of others. Women are often more attuned to this subtle dimension of human behavior, and this sensitivity influences how they interact, how they choose, and how they navigate relationships. Far from being a weakness, it is one of the greatest strengths she possesses. When a woman considers a decision, she does not only think about facts and outcomes, she thinks about how it will affect the people involved. Her behavior often reflects an instinctive awareness of the emotional ripple effects of her choices. For example, before saying yes to a new job, she may weigh not only the salary and benefits, but also how the new role will affect her relationships, her mental health, and her sense of purpose. This holistic approach allows her to see beyond the surface of situations and connect decisions to the larger emotional ecosystem. In this way, emotional intelligence shapes her behavior in ways that might seem complex, but in reality, they are deeply intentional. This doesn't mean that women ignore logic or practicality. It means that they integrate emotion into the process rather than separating it from reason. A woman's intuition, often born from years of observing and experiencing human behavior, is another reflection of this intelligence. Intuition is not a wild guess. It is her brain processing subtle cues and emotional signals that others might overlook. When she says, "I just have a feeling about this," it is often her emotional intelligence guiding her toward a truth that reason alone cannot yet fully explain. Her behavior, whether cautious or enthusiastic, often stems from this deep inner compass. In relationships, emotional intelligence becomes even more visible. Women are often able to sense when something is off, even if nothing has been said. They notice the slight changes in tone, the hesitation in a response, or the way someone avoids eye contact. This sensitivity is not paranoia, it is an acute awareness of emotional shifts. Their behavior, whether it is asking a gentle question or offering comfort without being asked, reflects this deep connection to the feelings of others. It is why many women can anticipate needs or problems before they are spoken aloud. They are listening not only to words but to emotions. Emotional intelligence also influences how women express their own feelings. Many times, a woman might choose to soften her delivery, not because she lacks conviction, but because she knows how powerful words can be. She recognizes that how something is said matters just as much as what is said. Her behavior and communication often reflects a balance between honesty and empathy, as she considers not only her own perspective, but also how it will be received. This is why her tone, timing, and choice of words are often deliberate, even when they appear spontaneous. She is constantly navigating the emotional space between herself and others. Another aspect of this intelligence is her ability to manage conflict. While some may interpret avoidance as weakness, often it is a sign of emotional strategy. A woman might choose to step back, to remain silent for a moment, or to redirect the energy in the room because she understands that escalating emotions will not solve the problem. Her behavior in such moments demonstrates a level of control that prioritizes resolution over dominance. This is not to say women never express anger, but rather that their expression of it is often guided by a broader awareness of its impact. Emotional intelligence gives them the ability to pick battles wisely and to preserve relationships even in moments of tension. Women also display emotional intelligence in their ability to nurture connections. Their behavior often reflects a natural inclination to build community and support networks. This is not only about care or kindness, it is a strategic awareness that strong relationships are the foundation of resilience and growth. Whether in family, friendships, or professional settings, women's decisions to check in, to offer help, or to celebrate others are deeply rooted in this emotional skill. They understand that behavior, which strengthens bonds, creates stability and trust, both of which are essential in every area of life. What many fail to realize is that emotional intelligence also protects women from harm. By reading emotional signals quickly, women can often sense danger or dishonesty before it fully reveals itself. Her behavior in these moments might be withdrawal, hesitation, or setting boundaries, and this is not overreaction but survival. Generations of experience, both personal and inherited, have honed this sensitivity. When a woman pays close attention to emotional cues, she is not being suspicious. She is safeguarding her well-being. This protective behavior is one of the clearest examples of how emotional intelligence shapes her decisions. At the same time, this depth of awareness can feel heavy because it means women are constantly processing layers of emotions. It is why they may sometimes appear to overthink or to carry the weight of situations more deeply than others. Their behavior in such moments is not confusion but reflection, an effort to align their choices with both reason and feeling. While society often criticizes this, it is actually a testament to the seriousness with which women approach life. They do not take decisions lightly because they understand the human cost of those decisions. Their behavior is shaped by this careful integration of logic, empathy, and foresight. Ultimately, emotional intelligence gives women the ability to connect with others in profound ways, but it also means they require environments where that intelligence is valued rather than dismissed. When a woman's decisions are brushed off as too emotional, it denies the strength of her perspective. Her behavior, her choices, and even her hesitations are rooted in a powerful awareness that many overlook. To truly understand women is to recognize that emotions are not a weakness. They are a form of wisdom. And when you begin to see how her behavior is guided by this wisdom, you will realize that emotional intelligence is not just part of her. It is the very foundation of her strength. One of the most profound truths about women's behavior is that their sense of security goes far beyond money. Many people mistakenly believe that financial stability alone is what makes a woman feel safe, but this is only a small piece of the bigger picture. Security for a woman is layered. It includes emotional safety, the assurance that she can express herself without fear of being judged or dismissed. It includes mental safety, where she knows her thoughts and ideas will be respected rather than ridiculed. It includes physical safety, the comfort of knowing that her well-being is protected and valued. When these deeper forms of security are missing, no amount of financial provision can truly fill the gap. Her behavior will always reveal what kind of security she feels in any environment or relationship. A woman who feels secure in the presence of someone doesn't just say it, she shows it in her body language and energy. She relaxes more easily, she laughs more freely, and she opens up parts of herself that remain guarded in unsafe spaces. Her behavior becomes lighter, more expressive, and more authentic. On the other hand, when she feels unsafe, her behavior shifts dramatically. She withdraws, becomes quiet, guarded, or even defensive. These changes are not accidental. They are her instinctive responses to environments where her deeper needs for security are not met. This shows us that security is not something a woman demands with words, it is something she senses and responds to through behavior. Emotional security is one of the most powerful drivers of her decisions and actions. When a woman feels emotionally secure, she is more willing to invest in relationships, to commit, and to give fully of herself. She is willing to be vulnerable, to express affection, and to share her dreams because she trusts that she won't be ridiculed or betrayed. Without this security, her behavior becomes cautious. She may avoid intimacy, hold back her true feelings, or test boundaries to see if they are safe. These are not games, they are protective measures. Her behavior is her way of checking whether the environment or the person she is engaging with is capable of holding space for her emotions. Mental security is equally important, and it is often overlooked. A woman's behavior changes dramatically when she knows her voice has value. If she feels dismissed, talked over, or belittled, she will begin to shrink back, offering less of herself in conversations and decisions. But when she feels mentally secure, she engages with confidence. She challenges ideas, shares perspectives, and contributes fully because she knows her mind is respected. This mental security empowers her to shine in relationships, careers, and communities. Her behavior, whether reserved or engaged, is a reflection of whether she feels her intellect is welcomed and valued. Physical security, though often assumed, cannot be underestimated. A woman's behavior in any environment is deeply influenced by how safe she feels physically. Walking into a space where she feels threatened or vulnerable will immediately make her guarded, reserved, and careful with her movements. Conversely, in a place where she feels safe, her body relaxes, her posture opens, and her behavior radiates confidence. This doesn't just apply to physical harm, it also applies to the comfort of being around people who respect her boundaries, her space, and her presence. The absence or presence of this physical security is written all over her behavior, even when she doesn't speak a word about it. Financial security does play a role, but not in the way many assume. It is not simply about luxury or wealth, it is about stability, predictability, and the assurance that her basic needs are met. When financial insecurity exists, it creates stress that seeps into every other area of life. A woman's behavior under financial strain may appear tense, anxious, or cautious, not because she is materialistic, but because uncertainty destabilizes her sense of safety. When financial security is present, however, her behavior becomes more focused on growth, creativity, and connection because survival is no longer the dominant concern. This reveals that financial security is not about greed, it is about freedom from fear. Another layer of security that shapes women's behavior is relational security. A woman's behavior in a relationship is often determined by how predictable, and consistent the other person is. When actions align with words and promises are followed through, she feels secure and her behavior reflects openness and trust. But when there is inconsistency, when words say one thing and actions reveal another, her behavior shifts into caution and withdrawal. Trust is the foundation of relational security, and once that is broken, her behavior will almost always show signs of hesitation, distance, or self-protection, no matter what words are spoken. Spiritual or inner security also plays a role in how women behave. A woman who has a sense of inner grounding through faith, purpose, or self-awareness exudes a different kind of calm confidence. Her behavior reflects alignment and peace because she draws security from something greater than circumstances. On the other hand, when this inner security is shaken, her behavior may reflect restlessness, searching, or even doubt. While external forms of security are important, this inner security is what allows her to stand strong when everything else feels unstable. It influences her behavior in subtle but powerful ways, shaping how she approaches challenges and relationships. The need for security in all its forms is not weakness. It is a foundation for strength. A woman who feels secure in her environment, her relationships, and within herself is able to thrive. Her behavior in such a state is expansive. She invests, she nurtures, she creates, and she dares to take risks because she is not held back by fear. Without security, her behavior becomes contracted, focused only on survival, avoiding vulnerability, and protecting herself from potential harm. This is why those who provide true security to women, beyond just financial means, unlock the fullness of what she has to offer. Her behavior is a mirror, reflecting whether her deepest needs for safety are being met or neglected. When we look at women's behavior through the lens of security, we begin to understand that what drives her actions is not mystery, but clarity. She is responding to the signals her environment gives her, whether those signals provide safety or create danger. Her laughter, her silence, her openness, or her distance are all responses to the level of security she feels. Recognizing this truth changes everything, because it teaches us that her behavior is not random, it is intentional. By paying attention to the deeper dimensions of security, we not only understand her better, but also create spaces where she can flourish, and her behavior reflects the best of who she is. Consistency is one of the strongest measures by which a woman evaluates trust, and her behavior will always reflect how much reliability she perceives in the people around her. It is not the grand promises or poetic words that leave the deepest impression, but the repeated actions that prove stability over time. A woman notices whether your actions align with your statements, whether you show up when you say you will, and whether your energy is steady rather than erratic. Words are easy to give, but behavior is what she studies most closely, because behavior reveals character. When consistency is present, she relaxes, she opens herself emotionally, and she allows trust to grow. When inconsistency is present, her behavior becomes cautious, distant, or defensive. Trust is not built in a single day, it is built in the small, repeated gestures that show you can be counted on. For example, if a woman confides in you, she will pay attention not just to how you react in the moment, but also whether you keep her confidence days, weeks, or months later. If she sees that her vulnerability is safe in your hands consistently, her behavior will begin to shift toward deeper openness. On the other hand, if even once she notices that you betray her trust, her behavior will quickly change. She may become guarded, stop sharing openly, or test you before offering trust again. This shows that consistency is not about one grand act, but about a steady pattern over time. Consistency also applies to emotional presence. A woman values not only the words of affection, but also the follow-through in behavior that proves those words true. If you say you care, she will notice whether you check in, whether you listen attentively, and whether your actions show concern for her well-being. Empty words quickly lose power when they are not supported by consistent behavior. Her behavior in return will mirror this dynamic. When she experiences reliability, she offers warmth, affection, and reciprocity. When she experiences inconsistency, she may withdraw emotionally or reduce the level of energy she invests in the relationship. Another area where consistency matters deeply is in effort. A woman watches how consistently you put in effort, not just at the beginning, but throughout the connection. In the early stages, enthusiasm can be high, but what happens when novelty fades? Does your behavior still reflect commitment, attention, and care? If the effort remains consistent, she feels valued and secure, and her behavior shows more generosity and investment. If the effort fades or becomes sporadic, she notices immediately, and her behavior often mirrors that decline. She may stop giving her best if she feels she is no longer receiving consistent effort in return. Consistency also plays a critical role in boundaries. When you set a boundary, a woman watches whether you uphold it consistently or whether you bend depending on circumstances. The same applies when she sets boundaries. She notices whether you respect them every time, not just occasionally. Her behavior reflects this awareness. If boundaries are respected consistently, she grows more comfortable, expressive, and confident in your presence. If boundaries are ignored or inconsistently honored, her behavior changes to defensive withdrawal, frustration, or disengagement. This proves that consistency is not only about affection, but also about respect. Inconsistency creates confusion, and confusion erodes trust. When a woman cannot predict your behavior, she cannot feel safe investing herself fully. She begins to wonder if today's version of you will match yesterday's, or if tomorrow you will shift again. This unpredictability leads to doubt, and doubt shifts her behavior into self-protection. Even if she once offered openness, inconsistency forces her to recalibrate, pulling back her energy until she sees steadiness again. This is why so many relationships break down, not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of consistent action that sustains trust. Consistency is especially powerful because it communicates commitment without words. When a woman sees that your behavior aligns day after day, she doesn't need constant reassurances because your actions already reassure her. This consistency allows her to lower her guard, to stop overanalyzing, and to feel grounded in the relationship. Her behavior becomes more spontaneous, more playful, and more trusting because she is no longer scanning for signs of betrayal or disappointment. Consistency gives her the freedom to focus on growth rather than on survival. It turns her behavior from cautious observation into full-hearted participation. It is important to note that consistency does not mean perfection. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone has off days, but consistency is about the overall pattern. A woman understands human imperfection, but she also observes whether mistakes are acknowledged, corrected, and not repeated. When she sees that you are consistently accountable, her behavior reflects forgiveness and willingness to move forward. But when mistakes are repeated without change, her behavior reflects disillusionment and withdrawal. She doesn't demand flawless behavior, she demands honest, steady effort that proves reliability. Consistency is also a sign of respect for her time and emotions. When you are consistent, you show that you take her seriously, that you value her presence, and that you do not take her investment lightly. She responds to this respect with deeper loyalty, kindness, and openness. When you are inconsistent, she feels taken for granted, and her behavior shifts into distance or detachment. This cycle reveals the truth: her behavior is always a mirror of the stability or instability you bring. She is not reacting randomly, she is responding to the level of consistency she experiences. Ultimately, consistency builds the foundation on which everything else stands. Love without consistency feels unstable, promises without consistency feel empty, and intentions without consistency feel hollow. A woman knows this instinctively, which is why she pays attention not to what you say once but to what you do repeatedly. Her behavior, whether it reflects warmth and trust or caution and restraint, is the clearest signal of how consistent she perceives you to be. In her world, consistency is love translated into action, and it is the key that unlocks the depth of her trust and the fullness of her presence. Would you like me to go ahead and expand Keynote 5 in 900 words to complete the full motivational flow? You said, expand Keynote 5 in 900 words, don't include headings and don't include ending statements, but each paragraph should be in 10 lines, ChatGPT said. Many people misunderstand women because they fail to grasp the delicate balance between independence and nurturing that defines so much of their behavior. On one hand, a woman values her autonomy, her ability to stand strong, make decisions, and create a life that reflects her individuality. On the other hand, she has a powerful instinct to care, to connect, and to pour herself into relationships that matter to her. This duality is not a contradiction, it is a richness. Her behavior often flows between these two states, sometimes leaning toward fierce independence and other times toward deep nurturing. To truly understand women, one must accept that these forces coexist and are equally valid. When a woman leans into her independence, her behavior reflects confidence, self-reliance, and determination. She takes ownership of her life, her career, her choices, and her body. She invests in her growth, pursues her passions, and makes decisions that align with her values. Her behavior in this mode is not cold or detached. It is focused, intentional, and powerful. This independence is not a rejection of others, but a declaration of self-worth. She shows through her behavior that she is capable of standing on her own and does not need to rely on anyone else to define her identity. Yet, alongside this independence lies her nurturing nature, which emerges just as strongly. When she cares about someone, her behavior changes in profound ways. She becomes more giving, more attentive, more willing to sacrifice time and energy for the well-being of those she loves. She checks in, she notices the little things, she remembers details that others forget. This nurturing is not weakness. It is a demonstration of emotional intelligence and deep connection. Her behavior here shows that she is not afraid to pour into others, even as she maintains her own individuality. The balance between these two qualities is what makes women so dynamic. Too often, society tries to force them into one role, either independent and detached, or nurturing and dependent. But in truth, a woman is both, often at the same time. Her behavior may shift depending on context. At work, she might show fierce independence, leading teams, making bold decisions, and standing firm. At home, she may show her nurturing side, caring for family, creating warmth, and offering emotional support. These shifts are not inconsistency but adaptability, and they reflect the vast range of her strength. A woman's independence does not cancel out her desire to nurture. In fact, the two often support each other. The more secure she feels in her independence, the more freely she can give in her nurturing role, because she is not giving from a place of need, but from a place of choice. Her behavior becomes more generous and authentic when she knows she is not losing herself in the process. Likewise, when she nurtures, she often strengthens her independence, because supporting others can deepen her sense of purpose and expand her capacity to lead. This interplay reveals that independence and nurturing are not opposites but partners. In relationships, this duality becomes especially clear. A woman who values independence will not tolerate being controlled or diminished. Her behavior will show resistance, withdrawal, or even rebellion if she feels her autonomy is being threatened. But when she is in a relationship where her independence is respected, she naturally leans into her nurturing side, offering love, support, and care without reservation. Her behavior here is expansive. She gives because she feels free to do so, not because she is compelled. Respecting her independence unlocks her nurturing nature in the most beautiful way. It is important to recognize that a woman's nurturing behavior is not always directed outward. She also nurtures herself. This can be seen in her commitment to self-care, her pursuit of education, her investment in hobbies, or her protection of her boundaries. Her behavior in these areas reflects a deep awareness that caring for herself is just as important as caring for others. This self-nurturing strengthens her independence, because it ensures she remains whole and grounded while navigating the demands of life. It also prevents her from burning out by giving too much without replenishing her own reserves. Some may misinterpret a woman's independence as coldness or her nurturing as weakness, but both views miss the truth. Her independence is an expression of self-respect, and her nurturing is an expression of love. Together, they make her behavior multidimensional, impossible to reduce to a single role or stereotype. Observing a woman in different settings reveals this dynamic balance. Sometimes she is fiercely protective of her goals, and other times she is quietly tending to the needs of someone she loves. Both behaviors come from the same source, a heart and mind capable of holding complexity. This duality also means that her behavior is deeply situational. When life demands strength, she rises with independence. When life calls for tenderness, she offers nurturing. When both are needed, she balances them with remarkable fluidity. This is why women are often described as resilient. Their ability to embody both qualities allows them to adapt to challenges with grace. Her behavior shows that she can lead and care, stand strong and offer comfort, protect herself and protect others, all within the same life. This complexity is not confusion. It is mastery of human connection and survival. Ultimately, understanding this coexistence allows for a deeper respect of women's behavior. Instead of trying to label or limit her, one must appreciate that she embodies both independence and nurturing as natural extensions of who she is. When she asserts herself, she is not rejecting love. When she nurtures, she is not abandoning her strength. Her behavior is a dance between these qualities, shifting as needed, reflecting the full spectrum of her humanity. To witness this balance is to recognize the beauty of her complexity and the depth of her power.